You picked up a brand new Beretta APX A1. This happens to be the tactical model right here. Had a lot of fun with it at the range, so now it's time for a nice cleaning. This is what you'll need to get this job done. This is my process, what I've been using for years. It's worked out pretty good so far, but take with it what you want and kind of run with it, make it your own. First, you will need some sort of push pull-through rod designed for handguns, like this right here. You'll need some attachments for that. You'll need a pull-through loop for patches. You'll need a brush in 9mm. They make these in several different kinds, but this is kind of the one I go with right here, 9mm. Patches designed for handguns. You can also cut up old t-shirts, just something that doesn't flake really easily. It doesn't kind of fall apart because you will be kind of rough with these, kind of scrubbing and pulling through the barrel and things like that. You'll need some sort of cleaner, lubricant, preservative, or separate bottles for different things, but there's a bunch of them out there. There's a little dropper right here full of break-free CLP, which has been my go-to for years. It's worked out really well. Sometimes I'll use this Ballistol as well. Ballistol is an aerosol can, kind of get in the nooks and crannies a little better, especially when you're cleaning rifles and there's just a lot of spaces in there to get to. You may opt for a few other things like gloves using chemicals, so gloves are always good. Protect the hands. A couple other optional things here is a plastic pick. These are tipped in picks here. Work really well to kind of get into those nooks and crannies. And then same with a brush. You can use an actual brush designed for cleaning, or you can go and grab an old toothbrush. Either way, works really good to kind of scrub in there. So let's dive in. Everything you need for this job will be linked down below. So if this is your first time cleaning your Beretta or any of your handguns and you're happening to come across this video, well, all the links will be down below for you. Also, one other thing you might want to pick up is some kind of nice cleaning mat. These are made by Tech Mat. This will be linked down below as well. This is from Beretta 92. I've had this for almost 10 years now, and you can see it still holds up. It just helps kind of protect the surface you're working on with all these oils and chemicals you're working with, but also it just is a nice padded area to keep all your parts, and it helps to make sure nothing rolls away on you. So first you want to do, drop your mag, safety first, check chamber, check again, check a third time, just in case. The Beretta APX A1 is kind of interesting. It has this push button here, which a lot of times can be pushed with the finger, but unfortunately you do have to pull the trigger, which is fine. That's why you're checking for safety. You can also go and push this button right here. If you've seen my full review on this, there's a button right here. By the way, YouTube, this is for maintenance and cleaning, professional disassembly and reassembly of a firearm. So, pull the trigger. I sometimes use corner of the magazine to push the button in because there is a lever that pops out right there. Now mine could be a little finicky, and I haven't really figured out why, but sometimes you have to kind of jimmy the slide a little bit and jimmy the lever to hit it down. So if you ever have that problem, just know that for some reason it just can be a little bit sticky sometimes. I think it's just because it's new, even though we have almost, geez, 1,000 rounds through here or so by now. Nice and filthy, ready to be cleaned. So you got the slide off. Now the frame is ready to be cleaned. Magazines I usually clean, I don't know, like once a year if you have to, but there's not a whole lot you need to do with the magazine. You will need to do a couple things here. You can take this spring off right here. This is the recoil spring, all captured. Put it aside, but you cannot take this barrel out with this tactical model because of the threads on the end here. So take the threads off, a little protector here. Set that aside, you don't really need to mess with that. And now you can pull the barrel out and you are disassembled for where we need to be for this cleaning here. So what I'm gonna do, take a couple patches, take my little dropper here. Just gonna run some oil along here, some cleaner here. I'm gonna put some here. Just gonna go along some of the wear marks there. I usually start with this spring here because it's usually not too bad. And you're just gonna go and rub it down a little bit here. Sometimes I'll put my nail right in here and just spin it. What that does is clean each groove out on top of the spring. You can also put oil right on, or your cleaner right on the patch, which I'll do here in a second. But sometimes I just want to get it on there to start soaking in and spreading out. Which is why I think a lot of people like that Ballistol, because the Ballistol has that aerosol ability to kind of spray. And that's it for this. You don't really need to keep a lot of oil on here. Whatever you use for cleaner already is good. And this patch is done. Throw it to the side. Now you're good to go right there. I usually move on to the barrel, put a little more CLP here, and we're just gonna clean it down. Come to the end here, clean those threads out. Also watch, there is a little rubber O-ring on the end for the tactical model there. May want to do a couple of patches for this section here because this gets nice and dirty. You can see that there. Throw that aside. Get a clean one. A little more right here. You can go and use that pick, especially right there, if you'd like. This helps kind of, you can see right there, see there's like a little bit of residue stuck right underneath some of these ledges here. So sometimes these picks come in handy, and they're plastic, so they're not going to hurt anything. And kind of go around the other side. Clean off the ramp right here. Take the patch. Clean out this area. Clean over here where the recoil spring sits in. All right, we'll set that aside here. Let's go over to the slide here for a second, and then we'll work on the inside of that barrel. So I already put a couple of drops here. You could also spray in here as well, because this is going to take quite a few patches. Just kind of go back and forth, get into the rails there, into those grooves. I like the dropper just because you can measure how much you need. And this is a good spot to put it in some of the grooves, but also just on the patch when you get into the more sensitive areas, like back here where the firing mechanism is. And also you'll see the firing pin sticks out right there. You're gonna want to actually not just drop any kind of lubrication in there. In fact, if you do want to spray, you kind of want to spray like this with that hole facing down. You don't want to get a lot of cleaner in there and a lot of oils in there. That could prove to be a bad day. This is also where that brush might come in handy right here. You can actually take the brush, and you're not just going to use it like this, you can actually use it with the patch and get it into these grooves here. Come back here. And it's just a light, easy way to get in there. You can also go up and down the grooves here. It really helps. Use the end here. And this is all going to be user preference on how clean you want this to be. I mean, if you're just going through real quick, just clean up what you can, that's fine. If you're going to sit out and watch a show on TV or something, you could probably knock this out in a real deep clean in like 15-20 minutes. Just take your time. Kind of see it's starting to look better. You can go and run your finger across the face here with that firing pin facing down. Clean out the outside a little bit. Clean the inside, the end here. Keep it nice and clean. Slide is done. So now you have a finished slide, a finished recoil spring assembly. Let's go back to the barrel real quick. You want to set up your brush, and I'll show you. You can either push it through, either way you want to go from back to the front, right? So you can either push it through or you can pull it through, which I really like pulling through quite a bit. So what I'm gonna do, put the brush here, I'm gonna wrap a patch around, add some CLP, add a good amount, let it soak for a second. And now, as you pull this through, this rod can freely spin. Sometimes you have to go a couple of times, make sure that patch sticks. Put it towards the bottom here. And screw it down. There you go, that should stay on. There you go. So now you can see it actually captures all of that residue that's stuck in the grooves of the barrel. I don't know if you can see that there with the light, but just keep doing that. You need to use the same patch for a couple of times. This one has a little bit of life left in it. Pull through. That's almost done already. I'll do one more. This is a good way to do it. You could also use the patch pull through, but I find this way to be almost kind of quicker, really, because you just have to do one time. I'll do a little less oil, but I'll do a little more on the end here. Let that spin in there. All right, I'm gonna say that's pretty clean. If you want, you can pull. You can put the pull through on the end here. Show you how that works. Just like that. Put a little bit of oil on each side. This is gonna help get a little oil in there. Help it spin a little bit sometimes. There you go, barrel is done. Now you're done with this rod here, you're done with the brush. Put that aside. Lastly, you have your frame. Very similar to the slide here. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of CLP on the rails to start. On a couple of the parts here. Not too crazy to dump it on any springs or the trigger itself or anything. And just go after it. Just be careful. It's pretty easy to mess up this if you start jamming your finger really in there. You don't want to mess up the springs. I mean, it's not going to be hard to put it back together, but it will take a little bit more effort to put it back together if you do mess up any of the springs or the parts or shake out one of the pins or something. You can see how dirty it is back here. I think what I'll do another one of these. Put the brush, this little piece on the end here, just in the rails. There you go. Worked pretty good. Brush this piece off here. Get the brush in here a bit. Really good. One more. The back part, we can slap this back together. So back here, let's kind of go gently, go around some of the parts back here, just kind of with the brush. If you want to go in the magwell, you can. It's all plastic down there anyway. It's all polymer, part of the frame. But you can get in there if you need to. polish everything up a little bit. Let's see. And a little more right here. Don't be worried if that lever pops back into place. You can go and push it from the other side. See how that works? You actually have it locked in. Push it. It can actually pop right out if you want to, but just push it a little bit, swivel it down. So you can see if you do pop this out, you just go and push it back in. There you go, so some good to know. This looks pretty good, honestly. I don't know if it needs much more. I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I'm good with that. All right, so now, lubrication. So there are a bunch of points on here you want to check, and usually they're a telltale sign of wear on them as well. So for example, on the actual frame here, this is where the dropper comes in handy. You're just gonna want to put a couple of drops on here. You can see a little bit of wear right here. Maybe a little bit on the end here. A little bit right here. That's it. Barrel. Wear right there. 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 And you already did the inside when you ran that other patch through. Spring, nothing. Slide if you want. You can get a little bit back in the rails here, but you're gonna about to rack it onto the frame anyways. Right here. And a little dab right there. And a little bit right there. All right, now, that's it for lubrication. Take a barrel, slide it back in. Recoil spring, small, large, small piece goes up front. You can kind of see this compresses a little bit. Put it back in its slot, make sure it's nice and centered in there. If you want, you can slap back on your thread protector if you have one. Now all you have to do, make sure that lever is still down, line it up, and it automatically racks it in there. If you want, you take a glove, wipe the outside off a little bit. You have some oil on your fingers as well. And that's it. So now, take your gloves off. Function check. Ah, so smooth. Trigger. Beautiful. That's it. That's all it takes to clean your Beretta APX A1. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or run into any issues at all when you're cleaning or disassembly or reassembly, hit them down in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Until then, guys, be safe at the range. Take care, and we'll see you in the next review.